you mentioned that you often feel pain first, the pain of you empathize or can and sense another person's pain when doing a reading first, or it's more prominent as opposed to anything else. Once you get to that point of understanding that feeling, does that send you towards seeing their guides, or how do you get to what's the process of from that point on to understanding? And I understand that it's different for everybody, but
It's
what's your experience?
so when I was younger, I would witness everything, and it was hard to control what I was witnessing. As I've grown, I've conditioned myself to look for the trauma first, you know, kind of like when I'm mining for crystals, I'm looking for certain veins of dirt. I'm looking for where the treasure is. And as I said before, trauma in some way is a treasure because it gives us that capacity to heal, which leads to more love, leads to more gratification, more gratitude for self, more appreciation. So I trained myself specifically to target the trauma in people's lineage, what I witnessed they had inherited and potential traumas in this life, because that's the treasure. Because that is specifically what my job as a healer and a guide needs to focus on and needs to bring to surface for them, because a lot of times we don't ourselves know what our traumas are, what I call faceless pain. And so it's necessary, I feel, for me, being in this position, whether it's a job or whether it's shamanic work or whether it's psychic readings itself, it's my job to find that treasure of trauma, because it's what's necessary to heal, to find more love, to give more gratification, to find more reasons to appreciate oneself, but also to be more exposed to the happiness and freedoms that are really here for us. And so it is different for everyone in that I might feel different things specific. For example, sometimes when I connect to people, I'll see visions of past life for them in different time and space and different dimensions, where some people, right when I connect to them, I'll see immediate trauma from this life, abandonment from a parent or sexual abuse or something compounded from this life. And in others, I might see something really good at first, even though I'm looking for the trauma. Their guides, or they themselves, when I connect to them, may just be showing me something beautiful at first. So I don't know going into a reading what I'm going to see. It's really up to the person I'm connecting to's energy, what they're open to in their subconscious as well as their consciousness, but also what their guides are pushing. Our guides know us better than we do. And so our guidance a lot of times is trying to communicate continually to us. And so when they witness somebody like me connect to them, then they're a little bit louder and they're more direct. They're like, hey, you need to know this. I've been trying to get him to do this for a long time, and he's not listening to me. And they'll literally show me imagery and communicate directly to me these things that are most important. But I also put that energy out there to where I'm like, show me the pain, show me the trauma. I want to see how I can help the most. And even when I had come back from Hawaii after my master healing studies, the reason I left Hawaii was because I had visions that I was supposed to help children more directly. And so I came back to Cincinnati and I went to the director, one of the principals of all satellite programs, who was a friend of our family. And I said, look, I just want to help the people who need the most help. That's what I want to do. I want to teach the kids that need the most support, need the most help, that are in the worst position in life and need the most protection or strength and education. And so they immediately were like, okay, you're working with the emotionally disturbed. At first I had to jump through some hoops to get there, but within a short amount of time, I was working with the kids who were the prison kids, the murderers, the kids who had tried to kill other people, or literally who did kill other people. And so I called them the best of the best, because they had the most trauma, more trauma than most adults will ever face by the time they were 10, 11, 12 years old, being pushed on massive amounts of medication to keep them doped up enough to where they're not going to be an issue for the system. Full-time 24-hour surveillance, prison kids, So what I learned by working with them was that by connecting to that vulnerable space, helping them to see that there was an availability to find love for themselves through the pains that they have experienced, was the most revealing asset that I could give them. And so, you know, that was when I was 26 years old to 28, almost 29 years old when I was doing that. And I learned an extreme amount of what it means to connect to people, even in that space where I'm not supposed to connect to people intuitively, so to speak. I'm witnessing all pain without even files. I'm seeing trauma very present. And so it's different for everybody, but with that availability, you know, there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we're being gifted when we can connect to other people's trauma. And so that's basically what I try to connect to first. But, you know, I've learned through all the years that I've been offering readings, and even before when I was a child, when people would just come up to me and ask for readings, or kids would call me when they were suicidal when I was in high school, you know, calling me the suicide kid, because I would have all these different random people calling me because they knew something. Their guides were pushing them to me, because even though I didn't know at the time what was going on necessarily, I was able to speak to their trauma very directly, not even knowing what their trauma was, and able to coerce them into appreciating something in themselves, and finding a voice and an ear that could hear them, even when they weren't able to express fully what they were feeling. And so that taught me a lot. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question before, I've been on a path of witnessing trauma directly because I've been wanting to, whereas a lot of people may not want to. But if we all chose to look into each other's trauma first, instead of try and pretend everything's so sweet and happy all the time, we would all learn way more about ourselves. So any number of things can come through when I connect to somebody. Sorry about that. All of it's intentional, but you know, we can't hide from the trauma. Basically, we need to dive into it head first. If we're hiding from the trauma, if we're not trying to connect to the things that are really going to help us, in my mind, it's like, then what are you doing? You know, in this life, whether you're a psychic or healer, intuitive, clairvoyant, a medium, regardless of what extrasensory strengths that you're trying to use for yourself and to help others, just independently for ourselves, if you're not trying to face your fears, if you're not trying to connect with the trauma that you're being, then you're going to carry it your whole life, and you're never going to know love the way that you potentially could, the way that you would probably want to. And so it's necessary for us to connect in that way, and that's why I do it.